part two, talking about the election. Part two. This is Elevated Vibes. We got the great Sean Driscoll within the house.
Thank you.
And all right. And the boss man.
What up? We will be your medical examiners tonight, autopsying this body, determining the cause of death.
Yeah, because some things are on the last strings, gentlemen.
Well,
I think they call it a forensic review.
yeah, that's yeah. I before we get started though, I can't say, or I guess, did he capture the majority? Like, has Cal?
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
he did.
So
By
here's
about
what.
3 million.
So here's the thing. The one thing I don't like, is how the winning side is taking joy in the pain of the other side. Now, 4 years ago, 2020, you know, I took no joy in the defeat or the feelings of what happened, you know, that was defeated, you know?
I think you were in a minority then.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
when I say I
I
didn't feel the
well.
need to mock those who had backtracked. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I get not mocking. them.
you know, but I did feel that democracy was safe, okay? I don't believe that his policies were conducive, his presidency was conducive to the overall health and well-being. That being said, I don't go out my way to say, oh, look, they're on Trump Fox show and Sean Hannity is crying. Or, you know, even when they were talking about, you know, the election deniability and all of that stuff, right? What seems to be happening is this goading. They are horrible winners.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, here, right? Arguably, we can all agree that democracy worked, right? There
Yeah,
was a turnout,
and
people
right.
voted.
I mean,
Right.
you're
Right,
absolutely
People
right.
rejected.
The status quo.
Well, I wouldn't even say the status quo. I think the policies and the people that were running in the Democratic Party. I mean, yeah, you know, we talked about a little of this before we got on the air, and we'll obviously get into it deeper. But, you know, here, to the winner goes the spoils. You know, I mean, here you could say, look at Hannity doing, or how Rachel Maddow was getting, or whatever TV personality it may or may not been. No matter what happens, you're gonna have people on the winning side that go, you know, are ruthless in their winning, and then there are other people who are
Dignified.
And on the other side, you're gonna have the same.
I don't know if I saw that in 2020. I don't know if I saw this
Well,
like
you really didn't see that in 2020. I have to agree with you on that. That they were, you know, kind of gloating a little buck wild like some of the red is. You know what I mean?
right.
But I think another thing what they're trying to do is start to do some of their placement of some of their policies that they want to put out. Because with some of the things that they are saying, they do a little bit of that gloating. They say, yeah, we won, and now this is what we're going to do.
Well, and here's the thing: they were the biggest crybabies babies because of January 6th.
Well, and I think
Absolutely.
what you may be not confusing. Your perception of reality in 2020 is probably different than now. Is because in 2020 you didn't have time for people to gloat because all of a sudden it was election deniers. So the politics of the moment were different.
Fair enough.
Agreed.
Right.
Fair enough.
Agreed.
Fair enough. Fair
Absolutely
enough.
agree.
Fair enough. And COVID.
And COVID, and I genuinely believe that when Biden won, there was a relief in the country and the party.
Yes.
And it wasn't time for COVID.
And it was like, and then all of a sudden the lawsuits were coming, and there was the baseless, fraudulent election issues. And instead of gloating, it was more of, all right, we've got to stop this phenomenon of election deniers. Where here you've got the Democrats doing what Donald Trump should have done in 2020.
Absolutely.
They accepted the results of the election. The president invited the president to the White House and came out immediately after it was clear that Vice President Harris lost and said there will be a peaceful transfer of power. That is what presidents do. And in 2020, you didn't have that, so there wasn't an opportunity for perhaps the go around that you might be seeing now.
And then also, let's not forget, in 2020, we had a pandemic we were all dealing with.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess I.
But do we? I hate to interrupt, but do we
Yes.
really care about why they're gloating, or should we care about how they got to the ability to gloat?
We'll get to that.
I agree.
It's just, and I know y'all gonna take exception with this. I just sometimes wish we weren't so magnanimous. I get why we are.
You're classy, Mike.
Yeah. I get why we are.
yes.
But sometimes you gotta get in that mud. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you just pointed it out right before we came on the air. Why is it? Help me understand. When he lost, something wrong with the polls. When he win, the polls were working just fine. We ain't heard now one thing, right? So make it make sense.
Well, when you got a narcissistic, spoiled brat, what do you expect?
I get it, but
He is our president.
right.
A
Right.
narcissistic, spoiled brat.
Right.
We
And
in trouble
so-
for 4 years, y'all.
If it's true then it must be true now. And they had already started putting in place the ability to challenge the polls. But somehow this fraudulent, corrupt poll somehow
He won.
yeah,
He won. So it didn't need to be a fraud.
Okay.
Because he won.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And if he lost, it would have been a fraud.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Okay.
mean, who are we actually kidding here? The bigger concern you have for the people who say, what I would be concerned about, and what I am concerned about, is the people who come out and say, now that Trump won, that is a referendum on the fact that 2020 was a fraudulent election. That is where the concern should be, and the people who are propagating that fallacy. But really, I mean, here, he won. Democrats were not going to challenge any election this cycle if they did not, because they had to be the people who allowed the transition of power, which they're doing.
Right. They took the high ground and they're not swinging low like they like to.
I mean, they did the here. They
I get
did
it.
what leaders
Supposed to do. Yeah.
I get it. I just wish sometimes we weren't so magnanimous. I get it.
classy. Stay
Yeah,
classy.
He's a
I-
man with wishful thinking.
I get it. I get it. But
Are you
Let
saying
it go,
that
let it go.
Clearly,
Yeah.
we know who you voted.
yeah. I mean, it is. But I get it, and you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, I just wonder how would they respond if we had challenged.
Well, I mean, you know how they would have responded. They would have said, "How dare you do that? Look
Right.
how hypocritical you are."
Right.
It will be.
Right.
I mean, there's actually nothing shocking that came out of 2024's election. It may be shocking that the House, that we didn't pick up more seats in the House, or I shouldn't say we. I should say the Democrats didn't pick up more seats in the House. I mean, you've got Montana, Tester, close, tough race. Brown
What-
in Ohio.
They have a 5-seat margin now. Is it 5?
I thought it was 3, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. Since something happened this
Because
morning.
Lake just lost, was confirmed that she lost in Arizona.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, here, think,
I mean, it's not much. I thought it was 5, but you may be right. I maybe I'm counting that race that you just talked about. So yeah, and then it's 52-48 in the Senate. So, and God bless Sotomayor, please, 4 years. We need a 4 years. So,
Yeah, agreed.
Sotomayor is the justice on the Supreme Court, and is the oldest of the liberal wing. And there were calls for her to, kind of step down.
Right,
to
from
avoid
Bakari
the-
Sellers, right? He was the one that started bringing that up.
I mean, we don't want to go with the Ginsburg policy anymore.
Right. Yeah, we see the way that goes.
So, we need, every month she should be having a checkup. So
I think they do, man. Every month we all should be having a checkup.
That's very
6 months,
true, right?
at least while we got health care.
Right.
Because
we got what, 51 days now? But go ahead.
Well, that's part of Project 2025. It's the Obamacare, but I want to get to Mr. Driscoll's point, the why. And I like, I understand the how. I think if we understand the why, you understand the how. Okay. So I would like to hear from you. What caused this? And I don't want to say cause as if it's a disease, but what happened? I think, there was a straight focus
on candidates. That's what happened.
Okay.
I mean, here, and we talked about this off line or off thing, and I'll probably get someone to yell at me later or criticize me, but Trump has won 2 elections. Okay, his first election he won against an unpopular woman. Electorally,
because she won the popular vote.
Yeah, but he won.
Right.
Okay, and then he lost against a moderate man. And now he won again against an unpopular woman. Okay, I'm not saying this to be sexist. I'm saying that if you look at the straight numbers, Kamala Harris was not popular. People did not like her. People sure didn't like Hillary.
Yeah.
You put up a man who's moderate, who spent most of his time in a basement over a year, and he beat him. Now, I'm not saying this because it is controversial. I'm trying to upset anybody, but you just got to look at the numbers. And then you go to the electorate and you see who the electorate felt comfortable voting for. There are indications out there that the Democrats lost Hispanic by 13 points.
Yes. That was the biggest conversion.
Trump gained 13 points in the Hispanics. Not only Hispanic men, but Hispanic women across the board.
Well, in the blue states, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, he went from 41% to 47%.
Yeah, Illinois could be in the next 2 cycles a swing state.
Yeah, absolutely true. But what I really want to know because you spoke about the Hispanics, why? Why do you think that he gained so much from them when the first thing he wants to do once he walks in there is kick a lot of them out?
I'm not intimately knowledgeable.
And then, hold on. Here's another thing, too. Yeah, some of them may say, hey, he's not going to kick me out, but he might get your cousin. I mean, let's keep it real.
In this country, and I don't want to say this, because we have an issue, or it has been problematic in our history, that when you think you belong to the broader society, that it doesn't affect you, right?
So and this is my question to most folks, and you're right, because you may belong to the broader society, you don't give about your family,
but a lot of them
about your neighbor.
And to Sean's point, what he was saying, I don't know, but I have heard, hey, I came through this country legally, or my parents did, why can't they? And here's the issue.
Yes.
When it comes to the prosecution of this case, historically, Americans are very bad at drawing distinctions. Don't be that guy without his driver's license that day in Arizona.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, but here, I think that, so you asked the broader question is, why did certain demographics flip so much in this election? And I think there are a lot of reasons. It's multifactorial, but I mean, here.
That's a big word.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think there's an overwhelming perception here is that the economy drives everything. I think the exit polls demonstrate that people feel, even though it may not be founded, that they're in high inflation, that job reports are not actually reflective of what's going on. And I also think that this country, there's a lot of Hispanics tend to be, Christian, Catholics, conservative that way, and some of the social issues that were brought out don't speak to them. And it's their culture, it may be against their culture, their religion, whatever it may be, but it doesn't speak to them. And it may be the boogeyman, but it's the boogeyman that they put out center stage, and that the Democrats could not say that's not true. Because if you have to explain yourself,
you're losing.
You're losing.
That's true. Absolutely.
That, and when you manufacture the issue, you create the solution.
Well, but was it manufactured?
Transgenders going to school in the morning and coming back.
Well, I mean,
like you send your son to school and he comes back a girl, and then afternoon, and you're sitting there and you're like, y'all believe this? Now, to your point, there is this issue about sexuality and who is who in this country that seems to irk a certain people and can drive people. Like, how you refer to yourself, that's you. I can care less. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
but if you manufacture it and make it an issue, same thing with immigration. Immigration was down, right? But you're showing photos, you make it an issue, you create, and not only did he make it an issue, he exacerbated the issue because we voted against the Border Act, and he said he was going to be the solution to it. So they have a thing with manufacturing the issue. They are problems in search of solutions. They create the problem and they say that we're the only ones who can solve it, when in actuality, it wasn't a problem.
Well, so I think I'm going to disagree with you. I mean, I don't live in Springfield, Ohio, but I think the community, they're saying that these aren't bad people, but they're putting a stress on the infrastructure in that community. That may be a problem to those people. Now,
but can you say they're eating their cats and dogs?
Yeah,
no,
they were kind of.
But I'm not saying that.
Right.
But he did. He did.
He did, and that was silly. But the 30 to 40% who are going to vote for him don't care about how ridiculous he sounds in a debate. But the people who are actually affected, I mean, here, I don't care what anyone says that isn't an actual problem. There are pockets in this country that see immigration in a more direct view than we do, and they either see it as a good thing or as a bad thing. And if they saw it as a bad thing, they're voting for Trump.
I saw it as a bad thing. I saw some of the benefits, but to me, the totality of it, when I'm looking at all of the stuff that comes with it and the targeting, when they have to put officers in daycare in the grammar schools because of the lie, because he said they were eating their cats and dogs, and then when called the reason for it, even by the governor of Ohio, and says don't do that, that speaks to who you are as your character, right? And I get it. There is an issue. Some people see the immigration, but we don't demean. We don't vilify these people.
Do. Americans do it all the time.
Our leaders are not supposed to, and I agree. We've talked about this.
Yes.
When you want to create an enemy, the first thing you do is you demonize them. That's what we did with the Japanese when we wanted to intern them. That's what we do with anybody, the Indians, all of that stuff. We demonize them and make them less human. We used to expect our leaders to be better than that.
Here, do you think that the average 35 to 40% of the Republican Party that voted for Trump, do you actually think they care about him demonizing anyone other than themselves?
No, I think they can.
Do you think that if he demonizes someone else, do you think they care that he's demonizing?
Of course they don't care.
I think they cared enough, and that swayed their vote.
And I think they like it. I think people who here, if you're voting for Trump, you like what he says.
It latches on with people. Now that's
you think he's a straight shooter.
And that's the thing. Partially, I don't understand on the fact that, just like you said earlier, if it was a stress on their society or whatever over there in Ohio, I would have took that better than saying, hey, they're eating cats and dogs. And then real quick before y'all respond to that, it's a viewer who they brought a statement out, his name is Eric Sheffield. He said, I don't think that this was a race about policy. It was an election about values. What's your responses to that?
I mean, I think there's some truth to that. I mean, but it, I mean here, and that's why I think you've got to look at these demographics of what did people truly value. People valued their pocketbook. They valued, immigration. I mean, I think if you look at the number of things, that's, you know, that's what I mean here. Abortion was not a huge issue. It was down the road.
I agree with you.
The people who are going to support the abortion, is that a value or is that a right? What is it? This election, I genuinely, and I think if you look at the numbers, it will show you, is that people have a hard time voting for a woman in this country for president. I really, truly believe that. Because you can't see these swings and these things drop off and just attribute it to the economy or to something else. When you see the overwhelmingly men and women voting for a man, there's a perception of what they think a president should be. And I think this country has a hard time electing a female at this point.
Yeah, they made that pretty obvious because I'm sorry, this is a man who's been convicted. And, just because she's a woman who was way more qualified than him, I'm sorry, maybe also Hillary was way more qualified than him, but then yet.
She's a former prosecutor, a senator, a vice president. She's won many elections. She's articulate. She's smart. She has clearly been effective representing her constituents. And she lost to a guy who told people on a bus that because he was a celebrity, he could touch their genitals.
Yes.
And I am a father of two. And I find that despicable.
We're a father of three, two daughters.
Right.
Father of three, two daughters. And I find that to be a problem.
Agreed.
I think it's despicable.
Right.
But how is it that a majority of this country doesn't find it despicable and will vote for him over?
It's proven we're that lost.
People in this country aren't ready to vote for a woman to be president. They're not. I
hear you, and I mean we're arguing about why we lost, because I'm saying, like, I think we are all in agreement.
Yes.
One, this was a financial matter, as we talked about before the show, and we keep saying if you're explaining, you're losing. So we talk about inflation, and inflation is at an all-time low. Out of all the countries who experienced this COVID, America had the best finish.
Has handled the inflation problem better than anyone else in the country.
In the world, right?
Yes,
so that's one. But again, it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like, my dollar was going as far as it was. So that's one. I think,
let's look at the numbers.
The wokeism. And here's the thing, and it's a little sliver. I think it was a rebuke of the elites. I think too many elites came out.
But Elon Musk is an elite.
But they don't think he is. But they don't think he is.
I agree with you that it was a rebuke, but they do not see the elites on the other side.
Let's look at the numbers here. In 2020, never attended college. Trump got 54%.
Of white, is that for the white?
No, this is just never attended college across the board.
Okay.
He got 62% in 2024. 62%.
So is that an increase, or was that the enthusiasm?
I think it's an increase. It's the enthusiasm, because the Democrats had 46% the year before. They dropped down to 37%.
So how are we slipping on the message? Because if you look at it, just like you said, the folks who never went to college, and they raised up and so forth, how are we as Democrats slipping on our message? Because we are.
They feel as if the
Democrats control the message.
But there's a part of it that feels out of touch.
Yeah, the Democrats are out of touch. When you have decide to do here, I don't care if you're transgender or not. I don't care if you're gay or not. I genuinely don't care. But if you are an elected official, you know, and you know that issue's killing you, you don't highlight the issue.
You pivot.
You pivot.
You
Yes,
pivot.
yes.
Yeah,
If they're talking about tampons in the boys' bathroom, you know what you don't do that election cycle? Pass the tampon legislation for in the boys' bathroom.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Or do a we're going to leave it to the schools. We're going to leave it to the state. If he can leave it to the state,
to local politicians.
Yes.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Frankly, I don't want, and I think I don't want my president going into my local school. I want my local school to be run by my local school board, and if I want to run for it because I want to change things, then I'll do that. That's called local government.
And that's what I'm saying. How do we slip on that message? It's just like you said, you don't want the president going into your local school, but he's about to do it because he's going to dissolve the Department of Education.
When you're trying to not offend everyone, you end up offending someone.
Right.
And so
I get that. I do.
Trump picked his audience and he picked who he wanted to offend. And he said he didn't care. You know what I'm saying? So by trying to be the big tent for everyone, you ended up being a small tent for no one.
As someone who I think follows politics and tries to read a lot of white papers and CRS, the Congressional Research Service, and follow news, get multiple news sources, there are a lot of things that Biden and Harris did really well. There are.
Mm-hmm.
They did
but
some
you have
really
to explain them. You have to explain them.
Well, here.
Infrastructure bill.
Well, and hopefully you would, the infrastructure bill by its name itself should be indicative of how great it is, since Republicans were showing up at the plans with Biden and they're cutting things and doing whatever.
See how you explain it? Give it to me. Give me a 4-syllable.
Okay, you know what we
give
did?
4 words to sum it up.
Roads.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That's all you say. Like that's it.
But
Build roads.
It was lost. I mean, there are a lot of things that they did really well, and I think I voted for Vice President Harris.
Mm-hmm.
She's my vice president. I'm proud of my vote. She lost.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is now going to be my president. I won't vote for him. I've never voted for him, but he's still my president, and democracy worked. So the next candidate that they put up has to be better than him. Has to be better than him.
But you have to define better. You have to define better in this concept because we just went through Kamala.
Appeal to more voters than Trump. That's what they have to do.
Well,
Biden appealed to more voters than Trump, and that's before January 6th.
Well, not Trump this case. It'll be Trumpism.
Yeah, but
The reign of Trumpism.
Biden beat Trump before January 6th. Before people thought he was a criminal, before he thought he was threatening the actual essence of the transition of power.
Yes.
Yeah.
They found someone who appealed to more Americans. And that's what you got to do. Find the person that appeals to more people than the other guy.
So, saying that and being that, do you feel that the Democratic Party should start now by bringing that type of message to the people, having them to, I don't know, if they have an idea of a candidate for 2028, you know, they need to start right now.
Yeah, you're going to have Pritzker from Illinois. Mm-hmm. You're going to have the governor of Pennsylvania. You're going to have Gavin Newsom. Mm-hmm. And then you are going to have someone else from another potential swing state.
Okay.
I mean, I think, the governor from Michigan.
Maryland. The guy who just
Wes Moore.
Wes Moore.
Right.
I think you can't do a first-term governor.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We got a phone call.
We got a call, everybody. Caller, go ahead. Hold on.
This is the first time I've ever had a caller. Are they going to yell?
Say
at
something,
us?
sir. Oh, Eric. All right, Mr. Sheffield, how you doing, sir? Hold on.
You might have to just repeat what he's saying.
Yeah, matter of fact, that's what I'll do. Tell everybody what you're saying, bro. I'm going to repeat it.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hold on, Eric. We just want to say, so for those of you who may not be able to hear, he's saying that this was a
Slow
race.
down, Eric. Slow down. He's just kind of repeating what you're saying,
this
bro.
was a race about value.
Like it's coming out.
This was a race about value and value politics. Go ahead, Eric. Yeah. We're just
we can hear you, but
the mic on the phone isn't working, so we're trying to talk while you're talking to us so that the audience can hear
as well. No problem.
You had a lot of situations where people would bring up, policy information that, hey, one of the arguments was that you would see, well, Kamala doesn't have any answers about this type of policy, or she hasn't said anything about this, or she hasn't said anything about the situation with Gaza. We look on the other side, the Republican side with Donald Trump. He didn't have that issue. He didn't have the same, I think, the same spotlight on him when it came to talking or meeting a certain standard or criteria on certain issues that everyone else was asked to come out.
So, Eric, I
think you see a lot of hypocrisy just in the way they were both treated even before the election even came out.
So, Eric, let me ask you this. Do you think she was held to a higher standard than Trump was, and that was part of the issue?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were some people you couldn't even, you would ask them, hey, what policies does he have, really, besides, saying he's going to deport people and, the no tax on overtime, which is something that I don't really believe because, according to the records, he has to paying on people that work for him. So while suddenly we'd be like, oh, yeah, let's give her a tax on overtime. You can even pay overtime to some of the people that are working for you.
Right.
So I don't think that's something that, he's been going to do. I think another thing is that at the end of the day, let's say out of all the things that he said he was going to do, let's say he's not going to do any of that, and we just run off of what was said. The fact that a lot of Americans just went off of what he said and what he promised and said, yeah, I'm going to vote for that instead of the other person over here that's saying, hey, I want to give you guys now correct me if I'm wrong on the amount.
Mm-hmm.
I think the $25,000 housing credit for first-time buyers.
Yes.
On top of the other things she was talking about doing positively, and he basically didn't have anything on his side. They're like, yeah, no, I don't want to worry about that. At the end of the day, I want to vote for this guy because, he's better than her, without really giving an explanation as to why, other than the fact that he just makes me feel like he'll be a better leader. But at the end of the day, I mean, he was already in 4 years before. I mean, really, what did he do policy-wise then? Next to nothing other than giving tax breaks to the rich.
Right, exactly.
The PPP loans.
There was no benefit to blue-collar workers at all.
Hey, small businesses need those PPP loans.
Yeah, it was those PPP loans that
So Eric, let me kind of talk to you about the values, and we can talk about this a little bit because voting history. Is this the first year you've ever voted?
Okay.
In 2020, Democrats voted yes blue 64%. In 2024, it dropped to 45%. For Republicans in 2020, first time ever voting, 32%, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
2024, 54% first time voters voting red, voting Republican.
And that's young people.
Well, I mean, here, I don't know if it's young people, but I don't think it's a 60-year-old. All right. So when we're talking about values, right? I mean, you look at here. I'm a mid 40-year-old guy, college educated, went to law school with my buddy here, Mike. When I hear Biden, after I paid off my student loans, when I hear Biden telling me that he wants everyone to pay off their student loans, that irks me.
That was one of our hottest shows. Check that show out.
Yeah. I mean, that irks me because I'm thinking, if you want to talk about values and taking accountability, you pay your bills. All right. Now I know that there are times that are hard and strife, and one of the reasons why we have the social structure is Medicare and Medicaid is because when we do have hard times, we want to have social construct to help us get back up, right?
Especially the richest nation on earth.
Exactly. But that is one of the issues that irks me. So is that a value issue for me?
Is that
a value issue? Because there are some issues that made 64% pop voting for Republicans in 2024. Were they voting for Donald Trump, or were they voting against Vice President Harris? So that's how you got to think about it. Is it when we're talking values, are our values being okay? We're voting for our values and the values that we feel that Trump has,
Mm-hmm.
or are we voting against the values that we hear Harris talking about?
I think people vote their hatreds more than they vote their likes. Like, people go on Yelp to complain more than they go on Yelp to say, oh, great job. You know, that's why we have to beg for our Google ratings. You know,
100%.
You know, it's like, but I don't have to beg when I've screwed up. Oh, you'll be on there in a minute. I would reserve this attorney to get me out of a book bag fight. You know, like.
But hey, Eric, give us your thoughts on that, man.
Well, you know what? I hear what you're saying, but I'll have to counter him a little bit on that because I'm 43 years old. I work in a union shop as an electrician. I'm prior military. If I was in the United States Navy.
Thank you first.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So I mean, like, so what he says about, hey, you know, I had to pay for my college, you know, myself out of pocket or whatever, or I had to pay back the loans that I got. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that at all. My problem is that, you know, I don't think it's fair to say, hey, which is good for you that you were able to do that. A lot of people in that situation can't do the same thing. And a lot of people, depending on what classes, whatever they're going to school for, the prices of, you know, just going to school alone have skyrocketed over the past
100%.
year. It's really high. So I can't in good conscience for me to say, hey, just because I was able to pay mine off, this person over here should be able to do the same thing. And if they can't, that's fucked up that I have to do mine. I have to pay mine, and they don't have to pay theirs. If they're going to get $10,000 off or $20,000 off, if that's the case, right? Let's just say that's the number. Then hey, that's good for them. You know, if I was able to pay mine off, I already paid mine off. That's over and done with. But I don't think it's fair for me as the United States American here to say, hey, you know what? No, that's not right for them to be able to get that money off. They should be able to pay the whole thing just like I did. I don't think that's fair. Eric,
I'm going to cut in, and I think you and I are probably agreeing on more than we actually disagree, because I think if we went back to the last show, I would say, I think I probably said this, is that student loan is predatory. The interest rates are insane,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So that is predatory. So I think student loan reform is different than student loan forgiveness. So, you know, if you wanted to wipe off the interest rates or have it deductible on your taxes or do something else, that's a different conversation. That's a conversation you can have, and you can agree on how to fix the problem or change the problem from going on in the future. The reason why I use this as an analysis, and you can disagree with me or not, and I'm sure we could go out and have a beer afterwards and we'd be fine, because we can have a rational, calm conversation about it. The reason I illustrate the point is because as a voter, that's one thing I did not like that Biden and Harris were propagating, but I still voted for them.
Because you have that ability to take the totality of the circle. Like, you're looking at the totality of everything.
But do you see the point?
I see your point. Yeah.
And I see your point as well. But to even add on to what you're saying and what Eric is saying, it being predatory. You know, you're gaining interest day by day, month by month, or whatever. That person will be able to get up from under that thumb.
Yeah, and I get that. But the point I'm trying to make is with this election,
right,
is there are issues that move people at the ballot box.
Yep.
You're absolutely right.
So I don't think the loan issue is something that moved people at the ballot box, right?
Well, I think you were right about the abortion.
Yeah,
I think
abortion really didn't either, because they voted for Scott in Florida, and he won, and he was against the right to have an abortion, and then 57% voted for the measure to memorialize the Constitution.
we hyper focused
And
on that.
then you all gotta also see that they just touched on the thing of abortion, but it was also more going in within women's health care and so forth, because you had a lot of women that were next door to death. You know what I'm saying? They were next door to death.
It's what are the issues
And
the
people not
values that
seeing
move
right
people.
and see, that should have also been out there, and even coming from the Democrats, they should have brought that even more out there. And I know they were trying, but they should have brought it more out there about more on the thing of health care in general. You know,
Eric, we want to thank you for calling in. We do have one more thing we want to talk about briefly. We were talking about this.
actually, he could get in on this as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Come on.
I because we're coming to that time.
Right. Right, no doubt.
No
No
Hey,
doubt.
Eric, it was good talking to you.
But we're gonna have some more. Keep it rolling.
So-
Just stick with it. It's all good.
So he has made certain. Forgive me, people. Work with me. The president has made certain selections to.
Oh God.
Yeah. We are having a hard time with this. Let's just start with the easy one. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit. Today, it was announced that the Attorney General will be
What?
Matthew
Gates, whatever.
Gates.
But
Gates.
he still got to get confirmed now. Yeah,
But he
remember
looks like the villain from Sin City. I mean, and
And all I'm gonna say is this is Mike started this show off and being like, why don't we get dirty? Why are we just classy? And then he calls the guy, names because of the way he looks.
no, I didn't call him
Well,
names. I didn't. I just said he resembles. If you watch that movie, Sin City, he resembles a certain character
Okay.
Yeah, but
from that movie.
I'm gonna call him that on the fact of what he has done or allegedly done that they wiped under the rug.
Speaking of character, said person seems to have exhibited, according to the FBI, a certain proclivity for young women
17.
and younger.
I'm just gonna stay there. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, and this may be a bad comparison. This may be a bad comparison, but if he gets to be Attorney General, a certain person who is currently incarcerated at Rikers Island, formerly known as the CEO of get that Bad Boy Records, should not be convicted. I'm just saying, if this is the standard, I know this is offensive to you, my friend, but I am just saying, if this the chief law enforcement officer, not yet convicted, but was investigated by the National Federal Bureau of Investigators and found to have a certain proclivity for young women, okay? This is now the chief enforcement officer, potentially, for the United States. Make it make sense. The floor is yours.
You want me to make it make sense?
I'm just saying.
Here.
No, I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah,
I want to hear you.
This is how it makes sense.
Okay.
The citizens of this country voted for Donald Trump, which allows him to appoint the head, the Attorney General of the United States. And my assumption is that he'll come in as the acting U.S. Attorney General. And I think they can be acting up to 2 years.
Yes.
I don't know. But, and then,
Is it a recess appointment?
Well, now, boy, that's what they're looking for now.
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
So,
I
and I
I
think,
was waiting on that.
obviously we'll see if Thune, what he does or how the Republicans handle Senate confirmation. But here, I don't think much of Matt Gaetz. I find him to be an individual that I would not want to associate myself with. However, a majority of Americans voted for the President of the United States knowing that he would have the authority to do that appointment. That's how it makes sense. That's what it is. Here, I'm going to throw this out, and it's kind of like a
Catch a grenade for you?
it's low-hanging fruit, right? I mean, there are other appointments that I think we could talk about that are very concerning, right? I don't think a Fox News host, I don't care if he's a former military individual or not, I think there's got to be some additional qualifications.
Who are you speaking of?
The guy who's going to be
the
Secretary of Defense.
Right, the weekend host from Fox News. He was also in the National Guard.
It's my understanding he's got a Bronze Star. So he's
something of that
thank him
sort.
for his service.
Of course.
But since I've had my opportunity to observe him and what he's done recently, I don't know if he's got the
gravitas,
the qualifications to be the Secretary of Defense. But obviously, the President of the United States thinks he does, and now he has the power to appoint. But here's the thing. Presidents do all kinds of crazy things. Do you think that Biden is going to pardon his son?
No.
Or commute his sentence?
No.
I think he should.
I agree. But
I would hope he should.
I agree, but I don't think he will.
Yeah, I think he should.
I think he is so classy, and this gets back to my point that you just hit me on. Sometimes you got to get in the muck.
Yeah,
right?
But you know what?
You got to get in the muck, and I get it, because to his credit, or in this case,
he said he wouldn't.
He said he wouldn't, and I don't think he will.
Or maybe commute it, do something.
I don't think he will.
You don't think he should? Because let's keep it honest. Yes,
you guys.
I understand that he wants to, be at a certain level. Biden.
I think as a good dad, you should.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This is your family. Okay, the younger Biden did wrong. We all know that. But you're about to have some very, and I'm being kind, ornery people that's about to come in office.
I mean, here, I'm going to say something else. He did do something wrong. You're the President of the United States. You have the power to commute. You have the power to pardon. And it's your discretion. Do what you want. I take care of my kid.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you 100%.
But I think he will maintain the presidential standard. Second question.
Well, is that a presidential standard?
Yeah. Let me because we're getting to the time. January 6th, are they pardoned?
Yes. I will definitely say that they will, and
It's
I think
gonna
the guy who shot Babbitt, I think they charge him.
And what about the Bison Man gets free? Bison Man?
No, they all get free. They all get pardoned. They all get commuted.
Oh, you're talking about the old boy with the hat.
And I think what you're going to see is a mass exodus of career U.S. attorneys resign or retire.
Okay.
I think once you see Gates being appointed, you're going to see a mass political exit, and that's exactly what Donald Trump wants.
I agree with you guys on that. I think it's, when it comes to Matt Gates, I think it's par for the course, man. I think it really is, look, people, I don't think there's no value there. I think people, if they wanted Trump in office, which is what happened, Trump will get either president, I guess come January 20th, correct?
Yeah.
So I don't think, as far as that's concerned, wherever he appoints for whatever position, I don't think people will really care. I really don't, because, and speaking of what you guys said earlier about, I'm sorry, what's the man's name that's sitting next to you guys? I don't want to up his name.
Sean Driscoll.
Oh, we're getting all kind of calls tonight.
So what he was speaking about earlier, when you had the uptick in voters, voting red versus 2024, I think for me, part of the issue with that is I try to say this in a nice way, not against him or anything like that, but just with people in general. I think the way that people consume information has increased a lot from 2020 till now. And what I mean by that is when it comes to social media, and we're not even having real policy arguments anymore. We're going for the sound bite or the 10 or 15-second TikTok clip or whatever's on IG Live or Instagram. People are looking at that and saying, "Hey, this guy or this woman makes me feel a certain type of way off this 30-second sound bite. I like the way that sounds. I'm going to go ahead and vote for them." that's it. You know, not even really taking a chance, even look up and see what they stand for, what policies, even if they're gonna, you know, keep the promise of those policies they're bringing up that they're gonna implement once they're in office. So, and a little bit, I don't think people have gotten, I don't think people have gotten dumber, but I'm just saying. The amount of critical thinking people have to do now is next to none.
Right.
You know, versus the way it was before. So I think that's the big issue in the way people voted this time around.
Let me ask this because I want to hit the list one more time. Hear your predictions. Department of Education, is it gone?
It's gone.
I don't think it's gone.
Okay. Tariffs.
Ooh,
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Eric. What do you think? Department of Education, is it gone?
You know what? Right now, I have to say no. Right now, I have to say no. Only because when I look at some of the things that for me, like the things he said, the figure to what's the word I'm looking for? To appeal to his base. I think that was one of the things that he just said. I don't think that's something he's gonna do day one. Maybe a year or two in, maybe so. But I think that first couple of years is probably going to be spent, like, you know, maybe going after the people that he had issues with before the previous administration, you know, that he was talking about. So I don't think that's going to be a day one issue. I don't even think the mass deportation thing is going to be a day one issue. I think it might be a year or two in, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, he's not going to